Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Creative Katie, Karen Burchill. Welcome to another Technique Tidbit video. This time we're doing the plastic wrap technique, and it's a good one. So I'm working in my mini composition book that I am doing all the different techniques, and I have my art journal, prompt and process cards, which include a lot of these techniques. I've done a couple pages in here and I'm ready to do the third page. Really important for this technique is you need to gesso your page first. You don't need any fancy expensive gesso. I use economy gesso from my local art store. So I'm going to use the plastic wrap technique, and that means I need some plastic wrap. So I have that at the ready. I have my gessoed page, and I'm going to use cadmium red and deep violet. I've cut out a piece of the saran wrap and it's ready to go. You want to have that done because you do not want your paint to dry too much. Now I have the paint here and I am going to apply both colors to the gessoed pages. It's going on fairly thick, as you can see, and as I go, it is drying a little bit. The reason it's drying is because I did not water it down. I forgot. This is a technique that I love doing, but I do not do it often enough. And you need to water down the acrylic paint in order to get the best plastic wrap technique effect. Don't worry, I'm going to do another page and show you the difference. This is going to give me a lovely textured background, but it doesn't really showcase the plastic wrap technique. Hence, I do it again. So I've put that all on. It's wet paint. I've mixed the paint, wet on wet, two colors that work well together. You put on the saran wrap and you scrunch it. You want to scrunch it up. That's going to move the paint, give the page the texture. And if you did it right, if I had thinned down the paint, you're going to see the white gesso coming through. So this you need to let sit and dry, and then you're going to peel it off. It's not completely dry. If you were doing this with watercolors, you need to absolutely let it dry or the water kind of seeps in and fills the areas. Now, I'm going to show you what this looks like. Nice close up. You can see the texture, but you don't see a whole lot of the white shining through, and that's what you want. But this is lovely, and I'm going to take this and do another technique video with it, but the technique is going to come later on. So let's do take two. The paper surface has been given a coat of gesso that has been completely dried. Really key. Then you are going to choose your colors. This time I'm going to use an orange and the deep violet. I love these two colors together. When they mix, they make a nice warm red as well. Here I'm adding water and I'm thinning the paint. You want to thin it. It's a bit of a trial and error. So like I recommend when you're doing a new technique, do it more than one time. Work small, do it more than one time. Use different colors to get it right. Don't just do it once and have it not really work out and then say, well, that doesn't work. Try and try again to perfect it. So here I'm mixing up the deep violet. I've got the orange all thinned out. Then I'm getting my saran wrap ready to go, because I want to put it on when the paint is wet and just applied. So now I'm going to use one brush to apply the orange paint here, and then another one, and I am just globbing on this paint. And you can see the reddish color that these two colors mix. When they mix, what they make. Just putting this on, I'm working quickly because I do not want this to dry. To get this effect, You don't want the paint to dry. So if you were doing this on a larger surface, I highly recommend that you do a section at a time to get the full effect. So now that all my paint is on, I'm going to grab my saran wrap or plastic wrap and smoosh it on. When I'm doing that, it's bunching up the paint, giving it ridges, and then exposing some of the white gesso. Then I'm going to let this dry. Now, some people let this dry completely overnight. And if you do that, it becomes a very shiny surface and almost plastic. I don't have the patience. So I am going to let it dry for about 5-10 minutes, and then you're going to see me pull it off. So I'm just bunching this up a little bit more to get lots of those crinkles. You can kind of manipulate it a little bit to maximize that. And I'm just going to audition some focal images. I have a clock there, and then I have this stamp, this girl stamp, too big for the thing, but it occurs to me I can cut her off. She doesn't need to be completely on the page. So I am just going to cut around her and get her ready while it's drying. Excuse me. This is the part of the only part of the video where I have sped it up. And I'm just going to kind of figure out approximately how much of the girl I want showing. This girl is just stamped on plain copy paper, nothing fancy here. I'm kind of editing. She's got something on her head. I'm going to turn that just into hair. You can alter to fit your purpose. So now that it's sat for about 10 minutes, I'm peeling it off, and I'm hoping that you can see the wonderful texture. You see some of the white coming through. Let's just remove these. It's a messy technique. And then I'm going to finish drying it. If you were using watercolor, it would seep in, so you need to let it completely dry. But look at that texture. Look at the patterning. Love the effect of this. So I'm just making sure that this is dry before I go to the next step. But look at these rich colors of the deep violet and orange. I want to add a little bit more interest, but I don't want to completely lose all that texture and patterning from this wonderful technique. So I'm just using a small script stamp here, putting black acrylic paint on it and stamping it a little bit, just adding a little bit of detail. I don't want too much. I don't want to overtake that technique. We did all that work. We want to see it. Kind of got a blotch here, but because it's all permanent underneath, I can grab a baby wipe and remove my mistake. Whew. So again, to do the plastic wrap technique, you need to gesso the page first. Alternatively, you can put a coat of acrylic paint, one color underneath, and then another color on top and do it. And then whatever color you put first is what's going to show through when you do the crinkle. Now I have this swirl stamp and I'm putting white acrylic paint on it. I'm just adding this tiny little swirl motif across the page. But again, I am careful not to put anything that's too bold that's going to overtake my plastic wrap technique. What color scheme would you use with these colors? think it might be interesting if you put gold instead of the gesso on the bottom and then did navy on top and crinkled, and maybe that gold would shine through. Might have to give that a try. So I'm just stamping, stamping, stamping. I'm kind of using the makeup sponge as a stamp pad. I'm quite happy with that. My makeup sponges, once I'm done using them, I put them in a tub of water that has a dishwasher tab in it. That just makes all the paint come out, and then it makes I can use the sponges again and again. This Trust the Journey comes from my short and sweet sentiment pack, which are all sentiments that are 1 to 4 words long. I'm just cutting this apart to fit my mini journal page. I'm cutting off excess white as I see fit. You could have left it in the straight line if that fits your page. With all my sentiment packs, you can size them up or size them down, shrink them, um, and you can print them out as many times as you want. So you really get a lot of value for your money. And they're all available at NINNYSNAPKINS.com. I'll put a link in the description box if you are looking for sentiments. Give it a look. So now that I have my focal image, I have my sentiment, my background's all done, I'm going to glue things down with my fluid matte medium. Final positioning. I changed my mind. How many times does that happen to me? I hope I'm not the only one. I decided to flip it to the other side. I thought it looked better. Loving the bright colors of this background. And I'm putting a coat of the fluid matte medium underneath and on top to seal the paper. I am going to colorize this girl. I am not leaving her black and white. And I want to seal the paper. And I'm sealing the paper here with the fluid matte medium. You could use clear gesso if you wanted. If Mod Podge is what you have, that would, although I find Mod Podge is kind of plasticky and I don't like the smell of it. Final placement of the sentiment. If there is a particular technique that you would like a tutorial on, uh, put that in the comment section below. If it's something that I know how to do, or if it's something that I want to learn how to do, I will include it in the next or in an upcoming technique tidbit video. Just making sure everything is smooth, and then I will make sure that this is dry before I move on. Once it's dry, I'm just going to cut off the excess by flipping the page upside down. I find that's just the easiest way to cut off things. And then I am going to colorize my focal image. I'm going to paint her hair, and I'm just using acrylic paint on top. It's kind of been sealed with that fluid matte medium, and it just makes it easy to blend paint, colors, and overpaint right now. Now, this was a stamped image, but if you get printables from coloring books online, you can resize them to fit your page and then colorize them like you see me doing here. I just have a flesh colored in a craft paint. You can mix colors if you want and get the flesh tone that you desire. I'm just going with this one that's out of the tube because it's easy peasy. The arms, the legs, the face. And then I colorized the girl's dress. I choose yellow. I think the cadmium yellow goes really well with the background. I add a little bit of that yellow mixed with brown in the hair just to tie everything together. And the petals or the collar of the dress, I paint white, but I lost that footage. But I did paint it white instead of leaving it as raw paper. I shaded around the girl's dress. I used the cadmium red and I shaded around it just like you're going to see me doing. Then I grabbed my Posca pen and I did some line work around the outside edge and around the sentiments. Again, I lost some of that footage, but pretty self-explanatory what I did there. So here I am floating acrylic, I am shading, and this is how I shaded the red on the dress, but I went on top. Here I'm going on the outside of my focal image, and I'm adding a shadow there to make that girl pop off that background just a little bit more. And I turn my page, my book, to make it easy for me to do this activity. It's amazing how that little bit of shadow just makes her pop. And I'm just adding a little bit of shading on her collar here. And there we go. Just a little bit more. Make it a little bit interesting. I grab some gold paint and I'm splattering, which the gold looks so good with that orange and that deep violet. It just, oh, together they sing. And it brings the yellow of her dress into the background. It ties everything together. You can cover her face if you don't want any of the splatters to go over top of her face. Just rip a little piece of paper that's about the size of the face. That's all you need to do. Nothing fancy. And there we have another art journal page that started with the plastic wrap technique. It's a great one, great effect. I hope you give it a try. Until next time, go get creative.